And hello, everybody. Welcome to Presence 2023. I hope this video cast finds you well. It's been, as we said in the newsletter, a really busy 2022. And I just wanted to recap that today. Some of the things I'm going to go over today, for those of you that may be watching from our advisory board, I'll be going over and updating some things that I have talked to you about in some ways. In other ways, there's some things here that'll probably be new to you. And the same is true with some others of you that I've talked with on and off during last year. But it's a very exciting time at Presence because we are really expanding into conversations that match our message, because our message is that God, as we define God, is that which is all in all. And if in fact this message is all in all, then the message shouldn't be siloed into a particularism called Christianity, where all Christians do primarily is talk with each other, debate each other, divide, denominate, etc. We're talking about moving beyond those boundaries for those who are following Presence and who are looking for a bigger God, a bigger Christology, and a better connection with people from all fields of study. So let me get going here to let you know what all we've been doing. And let me pull up the appropriate window and share it. And here I am. Look, it's me. Year-end review and the projects as well for 2023. So let's go ahead and just start right off the bat with Evolutionary Leaders, evolutionaryleaders.com. What is evolutionaryleaders.com? It's a group of some now expanded to 240 leaders across the world. And they are authors, they run enterprises, corporations, they teach. Many of the books that you find on people's bookshelves, these are the people who probably were the authors. This is a screenshot. I'm on the bottom level. But when you go to the site, it keeps changing because, again, there's 240 people in the group at this time. So this group is a group that is working together to develop plans of action. It is a group that is focusing on enhancing activism, finding ways to make communities, families, nations better, simply put. And so we have a wide variety of people in this. I am in the Evolutionary Leaders by invitation because they're looking for, and one of the ways they have begun is to look for people that are not just simply trying to promote a particularistic message. They're trying to find people that are promoting an integral or integrated message so that you have people in this movement from science, be it quantum physics, evolutionary biology, you have people from ecology, you have people from business, from education, from the arts, music, poetry, et cetera, et cetera. So if you go to evolutionaryleaders.net, you can click on Synergy Circles. And when you click on Synergy Circles, you'll find there are a variety of them. And here is one that I'm in, Integral and Holistic Cosmologies Synergy Circle. And you can see what they're doing, what we're doing. I'm one of the liaisons with Dr. Kurt Johnson and Dr. Jude Currivan. I'll talk a little bit more about them as we go along. There's a founding steering group that is involved in this, founding members. There's a subcircle that involves specifically a spiral dynamics approach to the integral process. So as we can see here, there are a number of people that are involved in these synergy groups. Again, there's 240 people and I don't know, 20, close to 25 synergy groups now, something like that. This is just one. You'll see all the other synergy groups when you take a look at it. For example, Anne Marie Voorhoeve is from The Hague in the Netherlands. And she and I have had discussions about the integration of spirituality into government. The Netherlands, she and Dr. Peter Mary at The Hague use spiral dynamics when they consult in terms of governmental projects, decisions, and processes. And now they're looking not to address religion, but to address spirituality. And again, that's some of the things that I'll be talking about. I'll get to later on in the podcast here. I'm just really trying to give you a feel. Look at all these people. Do you realize that every single one of the people on this list represents a universe in and of itself? I mean, how cool is that? All these people have their own audiences. So when I'm talking with them and presence becomes a known entity and our message becomes a known entity, guess what? Lots and lots of other people, hundreds and then thousands of people become aware across the globe of presence existing, presence message, and the way that we are seeing this integral approach to God moving humanity forward in light of all these other fields of study. So that's the first thing that happened this year, and I'm actively involved in this and a number of projects that I'll bring up that have come out of this as well. First of all, I want to talk a little bit about Dr. Kurt Johnson from the standpoint that a little over 10 years ago now, he wrote this amazing book, The Coming Interspiritual Age. What he meant by that interspiritual was that there were many different movements that were coming to an understanding that there's a source from which all things are manifested. And that is generally spoken about in terms of spirituality itself. Certainly world religions are going to use God or Brahman or other terms for, in essence, what is one's concept of ultimacy. How would you define that which is ultimate? Well, Kurt wants to re-release now an update to this book, and it will be called The Unfolding Interspiritual Age. And he has asked me to co-author this new released book with him. And I've been actively working with Kurt on this project. It's very exciting. I'm very flattered that Kurt would ask me to do this because the first book was an award-winning book, well known throughout all the synergy circles. So this is a fantastic, again, opportunity for us to be part of this conversation. If you get this book, The Coming Interspiritual Age, you'll see what I mean about its approach to all the various fields, psychology, philosophy, science, the arts, and you will see that the presence message is right there in the middle of that discussion. Interestingly enough, David Ord, who edited and worked with Kurt on his first book, David Ord was the one who was the editor for Eckhart Tolle's book, A New Earth. David has been a good friend for many years. And so I've been able to meet some people who have come from some of the things that have been written through Eckhart Tolle through David. So here's the re-release, and when the re-release of it comes, it's going to include contributions by Dr. Jude Currivan. Jude Currivan is a quantum physicist. She is also an anthropologist, and she has written a number of books. I've got two of them up here right now. Cosmic Hologram is the first book I started with. Fantastic. For anybody interested in quantum physics, she writes in detail that's far over my head in some places. I just had to go on through. I told her, I said, you were way beyond me because you get into mathematical equations. And in that book, she's going through all of the latest, well, during the last decade, the last 10 years, all the latest finds within the world of quantum mechanics, etc., that she is saying are pointing further and further away from the old scientific paradigm that the universe is simply a, quote, happy accident. Jude is saying the universe is not a happy accident, and the amount of information that quantum physics is providing us is giving us evidence of this. And then her last book here is the story of Gaia, and this conscious universe in which we live. So let me remind myself to turn off my cell phone so that when I get a spam call, it doesn't ring through. All right, sorry about that. So Jude's working with me and Kurt, and in fact, I will be doing a couple of videos for Presence, specifically with Dr. Jude Currivan, a fantastic person. If you Google any of these people and you look at where all they are, she studied at Oxford. She is from England, and she's spoken internationally and well respected in her field. So I'm going to do some modified work with Jude using the Presence infamous Venn diagram, which I presented to Jude. Who don't I present it to? And show how things have moved from the Newtonian explicate order to the quantum implicate order, and how that mirrors the way the biblical narrative tells its story. And it's a fascinating discussion. So continuing to move along here, as I'm just trying to give you a little bit of a flavor of what's happening. This is the front and back of a book that's about to be published, The Holomovement, Embracing Our Collective Purpose to Unite Humanity. This book, The Holomovement, is based on quantum physicist David Bohm, who came up with this idea of the Holomovement. And once again, the contributors to this book are many. There are a number of chapters in this book, and those chapters are showing the way that all these fields of study are converging. They're all converging. I was asked to write, along with Kurt Johnson and Ken Wilber, an epilogue to this book that points to the future of where humanity is going using the trajectory of the integral process. And of course, our approach to the biblical narrative is an integral approach to the biblical narrative versus the traditional approach that appeared initially in the Holy Roman Empire, and therefore the Catholic Church, or versus the modernity and its appearance of Protestantism, or the postmodern age now and the theology that postmodernists are teaching in seminaries, etc. And what we're showing is that those are movements whose day has come and is now going. They've all got serious problems with them. And so it's really a thrill to be able to contribute to a book like this. So that book will be out. We'll announce that. And there are many, I know a lot of these folks that have these chapters. So this is going to give me an opportunity again to bring in people from the outside. When you take a look at the evolutionary leaders movement, there's a real absence, a dearth of Christian participation, Christian theologians, Christian pastors. And once again, it's not because they're not invited. It's not because they would not be welcome. It's because Christianity is a closed system, and it has not and cannot, in my mind, communicate the way we are able to communicate with regard to the narrative itself. Then there's Riane Eisler. Riane Eisler, an amazing woman. She is now 91 years of age. She and her family barely escaped death when she was 8 years old by escaping from Nazi Germany. She and her family eventually worked their way to the United States. She is a historian and has done amazing work. One of her primary books is The Chalice and the Blade. And I, again, highly recommend this. It starts with the Paleolithic age and moves into the Neolithic and on forward with regard to dominator hierarchies. Her work has been heralded worldwide on the way she has pointed out male dominator hierarchies have infiltrated all parts of culture. And so she is proposing a movement away from male dominated hierarchies to partnership societies. She is not moving away from male hierarchies to female hierarchies. She's saying, no, the movement must be to a collaborative partnership effort. And that in her book, she shows ways. When I read this book, the more I thought about it, the more I was amazed at how deeply this runs all the way down to the family. She has 4 cornerstones of her work, and one of those cornerstones is children and women in families, and how gender has played a tremendous role. Why am I working with Riane? I'll be doing some videos with her. We're working on some diagrams right now. The reason why is because Riane has said openly that one of the real problems in these dominator hierarchies is world religion. And she specifically, in this book, The Chalice and the Blade, goes into quite a bit of depth about the Christian religion, its founding. And of course, as you think about it, this is what we said in our spiral dynamics approach. Look at how Christianity was founded. A pope had to be a male. Cardinals, bishops, even priests, they all had to be male. You had nothing but male hierarchy. And when you work your way all the way out into the evangelical world today, male supremacy versus the female subjectivity, very much in play, very much, in fact, part of a movement of many women who are now openly writing about what they suffered within the more constrictive, restrictive views of the more fundamentalist Christians. Now, as you get out into progressive Christianity has looked at the whole of gender, and they've said, yes, you've got male-female problems that have been inherent historically. And then they also address LGBTQ and other ways that people have been made to be less than, if you will. So this book, Chalice and the Blade, it has sold over 500,000 copies worldwide. And again, if you will Google Riane Eisler, she's written many books. her historian approach to all of this is really fantastic. And actually, again, see, this is what we've done with Spiral Dynamics. We've said worldviews have developed as humanity has developed, right? And as complexity has grown. And with that complexity have become new and new ways that we can proceed forward. And the old ways soon become unworkable. So Rian's work has led me into discussions through the synergy groups. I was introduced to her through the synergy groups. Didn't know she existed. She obviously didn't know presence existed. And so she's not here to talk theology per se. She's here to talk about the bigger picture of historical hierarchies and how they played out in the Neolithic age around 5000 BCE and forward. Now, before that, in the Paleolithic age, she shows how there were more partnership arrangements. And then she talks about what happened that moved us into the more male dominated, power driven hierarchies. So I could talk about Rian for quite some time. An amazing woman, great work. Not only will I be doing some videos with Rian, but the Synergy Group has a contract with Voice America. And if you want to, again, Google Voice America, you will see that Voice America is a talk radio network online. It goes out to literally 140 countries, pretty much the planet. It has a variety of different channels that you can tune into. And the Synergy Group is a part of one of the channels that is on Voice America and that is broadcast to literally thousands and thousands of people. They have been doing this for some 24 years now. They are now moving into Voice America TV. We will be participating in Voice America TV as well. The reason I put this in here is because we're right now in the process of lining up a number of speakers coming from diverse fields, whether they be, again, business, education, finance, the arts, whatever their fields are, who are going to have one-on-one conversations with Rian about how their work integrates and converges with her work. And the first person that's going to be on Voice America with Rian will be me, talking with her again about world religion and what it has done historically with regard to gender and the damage that has been caused, and how we have spent a great deal of time on gender. I just did what, 10, 12 episodes on regeneration, regenealogizing. Genealogy was all based on the male identity as you look at the beginning of the story. And I go through with Rian, the same thing is true with the Davidic kings, all male. When you look at the high priest and the priesthood, all male. All those things that brought Jesus into the world in the first century and that were in place, and then the transformative work of Jesus and Paul, who show that identity is neither male nor female. And this plays beautifully in Rian's partnership work. So that is Voice America. And then one thing I did with Sherry Kling, my good friend Sherry, who oftentimes is listening to these podcasts. She invited me, she's the director of Process and Faith. Sherry is the director of Process and Faith, and this is something that she helped me put together, her team, and promoted this, put this out, that we did a 6-week course on integral theology and process approaches, and I did a specific series with her on universal God identity. Now, process theology is a whole field in and of itself, and they're one of the most progressive of the Christian groups. And in fact, they oftentimes go outside the boundaries of what you would consider to be a traditional Christian approach to things. So we have a lot in common. And we have to remember that in our minds, this is an evolutionary process. And that what we're seeing in evolution is that the fundamental blue meme, which was the beginning in the first century forward in the Holy Roman Empire approach, that meme is seeing its buildings continue to empty. And that as people are seeing things in a different light today, as the kids are looking at these old paradigms and saying, I don't want any part of that, I'm not interested in that, then we begin to see a movement into more modern and now postmodern thinking and postmodern consciousness, and a move towards spirituality and values that is reflective of everything that's taught in the biblical narrative. But it's causing people like theologians in seminaries and other places, Process and Faith and whatever, to continually monitor and talk and have discussions. So here we are, and I had an opportunity to talk to that audience and was very appreciative of Sherry there, who herself is a very progressive thinker. She has a PhD in Whiteheadian philosophy and Jungian psychology. So great to work with Sherry on that. So those are the things that are going on. Now, I intend to do interviews, like I said, with a lot of these people, but I'm talking about, you know, the whole of 2023. Everyone's busy. We're in all kinds of Zooms and meetings. Books are being written. Programs are being put out on Voice America, newsletters, magazines, a whole lot of media content. In fact, one of the synergy groups just is a media synergy group of people that are high-end media people across many different platforms that then work with all other synergy circles. So I don't have a definite schedule for any of this. I'm just saying these are people I'm working with, and you can expect that I'll be doing interviews with them and having some great one-on-one conversations that are going to let you know what are the greatest conversations that are going on the planet today. Where's our planet heading? What are people thinking about? If people are leaving church, where are they going? How would we go forward? What's the future of community? What is a collective going to look like as we go forward into the future? And Evolutionary Leaders is an example, simply one example of a collective working together from all different aspects of consciousness, thought, etc., in order to contribute to and help move forward our human family. So let me just say quickly that I'm going to do a podcast series called Values of the Spirit. Those of us that come out of the biblical narrative and who went to church most of our lives will see this more in line with Paul's thinking of fruits of the Spirit. Why did I say values of the Spirit? Well, that's what I want to go through right out of the biblical narrative. Because remember, the President's message is not saying, let's leave the Bible and go into integral consciousness field, or let's go into quantum physics, or let's go into evolutionary biology. No, we're saying, let the experts in those fields do their thing. But let's do the Rosetta Stone work where we say, do we realize that everything these people are saying integrates beautifully with the biblical narrative? And many of these people that are talking with me, as I introduce aspect after aspect that comes right out of the biblical narrative, are people who otherwise have nothing to do with the biblical narrative. So when people complain about, well, why are we talking to all these other people? It's because no one is talking to all those other people. No one's taking this message to all those other people. we might as well have gone back to the first century and asked Paul, why in the world did he want to go all over the place talking to all those Gentiles in all those cities who didn't know anything about the scriptures? Well, that's what we're doing with the President's message right now. And it's a process that's going to lead me to other opportunities and people who are interested in joining us in those opportunities. I could have written a book, what, decades ago. I could be writing a book right now just on integral theology. I've entertained the idea over and over again. But when you think about putting out just a book on integral theology, none of these people that I'm talking to would ever have picked the book up. They wouldn't have known what in the world it was about. They would have seen it as just another religious book, which they have no interest in. So instead, I'm starting with an approach that takes me into their worlds and making connection with them in their worlds and showing them things about the biblical narrative they never had any idea about. And now I'm having people, I was on a Zoom call the other day, and one of the women on the call who has her own movement website and does a lot of things in her specific field said to me she really appreciated what I was bringing from the realm of theology and the values that I've been bringing up from the narrative and the examples after examples that come right out of the narrative. And she expressed her appreciation for that. Hey, it doesn't get any better than that, does it? So that's where we're headed. That's where we're going. My podcast, I will let you know, obviously, through newsletters when first one's going to be. I hope it to be shortly. Just please understand, I'm in the middle of working on other projects as well. I kind of really dedicated myself to the course with Sherry in September and October. And then November, December, I've been doing a lot of work with these people I just went through with you. And so I haven't done a lot of direct podcasts right out of the biblical narrative with a specific theme, but I will be getting back to that, as well as, again, mixing in these conversations with other people. Now, I can't let go here or go from this particular presentation without saying a word of thanks to all of you who have supported Presence this year and years previous. Let me tell you, your financial support has been fantastic. I don't bring up financial support on my podcast. You won't find it out there. But your financial support has enabled me to do some things with my time and with getting together with other people here, and even setting the stage for me to be able to travel to meetings that are about to, now that COVID's gone, there are meetings that are now in process, the planning process. And I am in the middle of being able to go to different cities and different places and have these joint meetings because I can afford a hotel, I can afford a plane ticket, et cetera, et cetera. Could not do it if it wasn't for all of you. And when you contribute money to us, believe me, I really feel appreciated for the work that I do, the podcast that I do, and everything that I put into it. And so I thank all of you who have done that. And for those of you that are interested in a one-time donation, or maybe something, some people support us by just doing a monthly contribution of $50 a month or $100 a month or something like that on their credit card. So I just want to say thank you for all your support. Look, this started with a guy, a farmer from West Virginia named Max R. King. That's where it started. Who would have thought that a farm boy who was walking the fields and thinking about where the biblical narrative really was going, who would have thought that we would end up in this place today talking to people on the global stage, and that all along we have had the tagline that this is a global conversation for a new earth. Who would have thought that that would have been the case? So Again, thank you everybody for being with us. And I'll put the newsletter out. We'll get cooking again. We'll rock and roll in 23. I think Danae's tagged that the year of energy, 23 energy, something like that, that moves. And certainly I'm excited and my energy level sky high and really enjoying where we're going. Always reach out to me at presence.tv with any questions you've got. But thanks for joining me for the video cast. We'll be back in touch soon.